Like almost all African Americans, talk show host Michael Strahan wanted to learn about his enslaved ancestors. We were able to take him back to his third great-grandparents, James and Winnie Shankle, who were born into slavery in the early 1800s, a journey that would prove deeply moving. But it's what his ancestors did when freedom came that amazed us both. Now, Michael, this is incredible. Would you please read the transcribed section next to James's name?
Value real estate, $200. Value personal estate, $125. I got a smile on my face, man. Now I'm like, okay, I'm proud. We just wasn't accepting the situation with what it was. We were trying to come up, as they say. So
yeah, but how in the world did people who were slaves?
How did you come up?
In 5 years.
I mean, I know now we look and go, whoa, but 1870, coming from a situation where you were the disenfranchised, where you were just much wasn't expected of you, you were just property.
Yeah.
To be able to do that, I mean, I'm smiling. I'm happy.
And you should be. Despite all they had endured, James and Winnie Shankle somehow managed to buy land and make a living. And that's not all they did. In 1867, just 2 years out of slavery, they launched a brand new town.
Shankleville community, named for Jim and Winnie Shankle, known as first Newton County blacks to buy land to become local leaders after gaining freedom by emancipation. In 1867, they began buying land, and with associate Steve McBride, eventually owned over 4,000 acres. In their neighborhood were prosperous farms, churches, a cotton gin, grist mills, sawmills, schools, including McBride College, built by Steve McBride. Holy.
Isn't that amazing? Isn't that amazing?
Wow.
They reinvented themselves almost overnight. They went from being a slave to a landowner. That's amazing.
And that, when you're building, like you say, a prosperous farm, you're building churches, you're building a cotton gin, grist mills, sawmills, schools. You're building things that they weren't supposed to have.
Not at all.
They're building businesses that they're not supposed to be able to own, because how can a slave own this business, not long after being free?
Yeah, it's amazing.
And it's prideful.
Yeah.
The swagger I'm gonna have when I walk out of here is gonna be unlike anybody else. Wow.
I'm happy for you, man.
I'm happy too. You've made a happy man out of me.
Journalist Gayle King has spent her career covering some of the biggest stories of our time. But her own grandfather, a minister named Beauregard George King, had a story that somehow had slipped past Gayle. As a young man, Beauregard served in the United States Army during World War I, and neither he nor Gayle's grandmother ever spoke about it.
I probably, if I wanted to, I could count on both hands how many actual conversations I had. Because I didn't really know them well. They were in Alabama. We would go there for the summers. We didn't really have a lot of conversation. And I just think that's one of the resources that's missing. If you have older people in your family, I think everybody should record them and talk to them.
As it turns out, Beauregard's military records reveal that he didn't just serve, he saw the war up close, which was quite unusual for an African American. At the time, most black troops were given menial tasks, but Beauregard was assigned to a medical unit and found himself in one of the largest battles of the entire war, the Moosar Gun Offensive, fought in the rain and cold along a heavily fortified stretch of German trenches. The offensive claimed more American lives than either Gettysburg or D-Day.
So he could have been easily killed.
26,000 Americans were killed.
Wow.
More than 91,000 Americans were wounded. the deadliest battle in all of American military history.
Wow.
Can you imagine?
No. And then to come back and survive and, from a little girl's point of view, seem very sane.
Yes.
Seem very loving, very kind, a very attentive minister with a great sense of humor. So to know that he had all of that in his background, I think is very, very interesting to me.
The Muzar gun offensive was ultimately a success, but it must have been terrifying for Gayle's grandfather. Beauregard spent at least 4 days, likely working around the clock, transporting the wounded from the frontline trenches to a field hospital. It would have been tremendously stressful.
Yeah. You can tell looking at these pictures, it's tremendously stressful.
What's it like to learn this?
Well, it does make you proud to know that you're associated with that, that you come from that, quote, stock of people.
Absolutely.
That does make you proud to know that. That's very humbling to me.
We always start our work by asking our guests and their relatives what they've heard about their ancestors. But sometimes, when we compare the details of a family story to the facts that we find in the archives, we discover that crucial details have been concealed and that the reality is far more dramatic than anyone could have imagined. News anchor Norah O'Donnell experienced this in a big way. Norah grew up hearing stories about her maternal grandmother, a woman named Mary Monahan. Mary immigrated to America from Ireland when she was 23 years old, on her own, with less than $50 to her name. Though she arrived in this country with almost nothing, she quickly built a life for herself. Within 7 years, she had steady work, she was married to Norah's grandfather, a fellow Irish immigrant, and she had become an American citizen. But when we looked at Mary's immigration files, we discovered a shocking secret. Norah, this is the title card for your grandmother's citizenship papers.
It says Mary Teresa Monahan, and then it says canceled.
Canceled. Do you know what that means?
Does that mean she was denied?
It means that your grandmother's United States citizenship was revoked. Did you ever hear anything about this?
No.
Mary lost her citizenship because she had lied when she applied for her citizenship, claiming that she was single when she was actually already married. Why did she lie? Well, according to the United States government, Mary's husband was an illegal immigrant, and Mary was worried that he'd be deported. Though the couple would eventually gain their citizenship, the process would take years, and seeing it documented would inspire Norah to see herself and her family in an entirely new way.
Wow. I think very few people would look at Norah O'Donnell on the CBS Evening News and think her grandfather was an undocumented immigrant. But he was.
But he was.
He was.
And the system forgave him.
And I think that's going to be a huge surprise to my family that my grandmother lied about her marriage status in order to protect her husband.
I call that a loving fib.
Yeah, it's a reminder that, that we all come from somewhere. And sometimes we forget where we came from.
Talk show host Mario Lopez knew that his paternal grandfather, Luciano Lopez Burgos, came to America from Mexico as a young man and ended up in San Diego, California, supporting 8 children as a laborer. But while Mario is grateful for all that Luciano did to plant roots in the United States, he had absolutely no idea about the effort that his grandfather had made simply getting into this country. The story begins with an application for United States citizenship, which Luciano filed in March of 1957. Would you please read the title at the top of the page?
Application for permission to reapply, Tijuana, Mexico, 1957.
The key word in that sentence is reapply.
Reapply, right.
Have you ever heard anything about this?
No.
Look at the transcribed section at the bottom.
Removed from the United States on or about 1952 to Mexico from the port of San Ysidro, California. I resided in the United States for a period of approximately 1 month. At the time of removal, I was living in Hanford, California.
Do you know what's happening here? Did you ever hear
No.
about this story?
No.
Luciano's story is a classic example of the struggles faced by migrant workers of his day. In 1952, when he was about 26 years old, he sought work in farm country north of Los Angeles. Lacking a visa, he was here illegally, and soon that caught up with him. After roughly 1 month, Luciano was detained by immigration officials and returned to Mexico via what was known as a voluntary departure, meaning no arrest warrant was issued and no legal record of the incident was preserved. Soon after, America became considerably more hostile towards Mexican migration and began using military tactics to detain suspected migrants in holding camps before shipping them across the border. It must have been deeply discouraging, but Mario's grandfather wasn't one to be easily deterred. He set out for the United States yet again, embarking on a remarkable journey. We found the details of that journey in the National Archives.
My full, true, and correct name is Lucian Lopez Burgos. I was born January 7th, 1925 in Ranchitos, Culiacán, Sinaloa, Mexico. Lawful admission for permanent residence in the United States was at San Ysidro, California on September 10th, 1957. Wow.
You're looking at the moment that your grandfather declared his intention to become a citizen of the United States of America.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's very cool. I love it.
And if you look at it closely again, you will see that Luciano legally entered the United States on September 10th, 1957, on foot. Can you imagine?
Wow. Walk, that's crazy.
And you can see the photo he submitted
Yeah.
with his application there on your left. Does he look like the guy you remember?
Yeah, I can't wait to show my dad.
Do you feel grateful to your grandfather? If he hadn't tried so hard to immigrate, you, of course, might not be here.
Of course. No, I appreciate it. And I just feel like going down rabbit holes just to even learn more and anxious to show the family. But it does, makes you kind of proud.
Journalist Lisa Ling knew that her father's childhood had been suddenly and violently transformed by World War II, but the details of the story had been too painful for him to share. We set out to recover them. In December of 1941, when her father was 5 years old, the Japanese army invaded Hong Kong, her father's hometown.
My dad's not very tall, but his father was 6'1", and he is convinced that the reason why he's so small in comparison is because he was so malnourished during the war.
He's probably right.
Yeah, he said he went days without eating sometimes, or just eating rice.
The family's troubles were compounded by the fact that Lisa's grandfather was working in Southeast Asia, over 1,000 miles away. This meant that Lisa's grandmother, a woman named Lien Chin Chong, was on her own as Hong Kong devolved into chaos. There were executions, food shortages, even cannibalism. Lien realized that to survive, she would have to flee. So she packed up her children and abandoned the city on foot. Years later, she would recount her experience in a harrowing memoir.
We had already marched 3 days, putting in about 15 miles each day. My shoes were in terrible condition, with the soles worn through. Broken blisters on my feet caused much pain and discomfort. After each rest, I had to clench my teeth in order to hoist myself up from the bench to start walking again. That's my grandma's book that she wrote.
Yeah.
That I haven't looked at for decades and decades. And I was much younger when I actually read this book. So now at 44, thinking about how young she was, and my little dad.
You see that map over there?
Yeah.
That's where they were. You can see how they made their way.
He had no idea that they went into China. I had no idea. I can't even imagine how she was able to do it.
Oh my God, it's impossible.
She really, I think, carried her family on her back.
When the war ended, Lisa's grandparents found each other. But the family struggles weren't over. Peacetime reignited a civil war in China, a conflict that would claim over 2 million lives. So once again, the Lings took flight. Lisa's grandfather found a job in America and sent for his wife and children. Their journey is recorded in a passenger list for a ship that arrived in San Francisco in July of 1948.
Chong Lianchin, age 38, female. Ling Chongche, age 10, female. Ling Chongte, my dad, age 11, male.
That 11-year-old boy is your father. Here he is arriving in the United States for the first time with his sister and his mother, your grandmother.
An amazing photograph.
Isn't that amazing?
Just thinking about what those eyes had seen before taking this picture.
Survivors. Big
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
RuPaul Charles has one of the most compelling stories that we've ever uncovered. It begins with a record from the year 1804, in which a white planter named Jacques Fontenette freed 2 of his slaves, RuPaul's great-great-grandmother Nanette and her brother Andre. All the while, keeping their mother, a woman known in the records only as Negro Julie, in bondage. Can you imagine becoming free when your mother remains a slave? Julie was still a slave at the time of her own children's manumission, which had to make her heart sing, that her children would be free.
Yeah.
But still it meant that she was enslaved.
Wow. I wonder what precipitated giving them their freedom. I wonder what that was. Why he did it.
Why do you think?
The first thing that comes to mind is that there he has a relationship with Negro Julie.
Mm-hmm.
Somehow, through compassion of the heart, he did this. Maybe because he's their father?
Mm-hmm. Love.
Love would be the number one thing that would someone would grant someone their freedom like this.
But he didn't love Julie enough to free her too.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Oh, it's bittersweet.
We don't know about the nature of the relationship between Julie and the man who owned her. But Julie's story has a happy ending. It lies in a manumission record dated September 7th, 1818, about 14 years after Nanette and Andre had been freed.
Nanette stated that before he died, her brother Andre had bought Julie, his mother, from Jacques Fontenette with the intention of manumitting her. However, Andre died before this could be accomplished. Now, Nanette, sole heir of Andre, manumits Julie.
What's it like to see that?
To live long enough to free your mother, from slavery, that takes some real faith. And to not give up, and very easily people could fade away.
It's too much.
Too much.
Too much.
And he didn't quite get to the finish line, but his sister
But his sister did.
picked it up.
Yeah, and he made sure of that.
Wow.
Can you imagine what that must have felt like to be able to do that?
Wow. I can imagine to live long enough to come full circle in life like that. When my mother was on her deathbed, she called me and she said, "Ru, come here. I need you." She was on her deathbed in the living room where I put the bed. And she said, "I'm embarrassed about this, but I I need your help because I have messed myself.
Right.
And this sounds weird, but it was one of the most beautiful things I've ever done on this planet, to have helped someone who has helped me in that way.
Yeah.
I've done a lot of things in life. That turnaround of helping my mother like that has to be the most incredible thing I've ever done.
Supermodel Chrissy Teigen grew up knowing that her mother's roots stretched back centuries in Thailand. But her father's side of her family tree was a blank slate. We set out to fill it in and found an incredible story. It begins with a record in the archives of the state of Washington.
Name, Ruth Helen Hornbaker. Father's name, Richard Schaefer. Mother's name, Minnie Heller.
This is your grandmother Ruth's death certificate. Have you ever seen that before?
No.
Well, this document is important because it gives us the names of Ruth's parents. This is how we piece together family trees. They were Richard Schaefer and Wilhelmina Heller. And Wilhelmina's nickname was Minnie. And Richard and Wilhelmina are your paternal great-grandparents. Have you ever heard those names before?
No.
Could you please turn the page? Chrissy, on the right is a list of passengers who arrived in the port of New York from Bremen, Germany. You ready for this? June 1st, 1885.
Wow.
That's the passenger list. Would you please read who was on that ship?
Wow. Johann Heller, age 34, occupation workman. Rosalia, age 32, babies, wife. Wilhelmina, age 3, child. The country which they are citizens, Germany. Number of pieces of luggage, 4.
That's the moment they stepped foot on the United States soil.
Wow.
June the 1st, 1885. And she arrived with her parents.
100 years later.
Yeah.
Wow.
Your great-great-grandparents were Johann and Rosalia Heller.
Oh, that's incredible.
Johann and Rosalia were both born in towns that are now in Poland. As we comb through the records that they left behind, we noticed something unusual. Rosalia had a brother named Trogot Franz, who's listed as being an oboist. And it seems that this was a family business. Indeed, documents indicate that at least 3 generations of Chrissy's ancestors were musicians.
Wow.
How do you think this history gets lost? How do you think people forget what their ancestors did?
I would have definitely thought, like, I do feel like our family has a musical connection with vocals. I always felt like our family always been in choirs and things, but would have never guessed instruments, especially with how terrible I am at instruments. But yeah, I don't know how it would get lost, but I also don't know how you would find it because it's been so gone forever.
As it turns out, there was a great deal more to learn about the Franz family. Not only were they musicians, they also appear to have lived nomadic lives, traveling in mostly rural areas. And it seems that several of them were illiterate, which was surprising because Prussia had compulsory education laws at the time. At first, we didn't know what to make of all this. But then we realized that Chrissy's ancestors belonged to an ancient European community called the Sinti, and thus were part of a very specific minority group known as the Romani, or Roma people, a group once denigrated as gypsies. They're traditionally itinerant people who lived all over Europe for centuries, and you are part Roma.
Wow, that's so cool.
What's it like to see that?
I love it.
These are your people. That's why they were moving around so much. That's why they were illiterate.
Wow.
And guess what? It was rough to be a Roma. For centuries, they were discriminated against and they were even persecuted, just like the Jews were in Europe. They spoke their own language, which was based on Sanskrit, which is the classical language of India.
Wow, Sanskrit?
Yeah, and generally they lived among themselves on the outskirts of larger communities or pursued an itinerant trade within those communities, such as being a musician. They traveled often, usually with families, and they were living constantly on the edge. So do you think this is one of the reasons Rosalia and Johann moved to America, to escape all the persecution for her people?
Yeah, of course. I just, that's so unreal.
What's it like to learn this story?
It's amazing. It's beautiful to be able to tell my kids now at such a young age for them what I spent my whole life not knowing is really cool.
Oh, that's great.
This has been so special.
Seth Meyers is a household name. Yet the beloved comedian came to me knowing nothing about where the Meyers family actually comes from. We trace his ancestors back to a small town in modern-day Lithuania, where his family had lived for generations, but not with the surname that we all know so well.
Wow. Trakiansky is the last name?
You have just met your great-great-grandfather, and you have just retrieved your original family name.
Late night with Seth Trakiansky.
Yeah, I can see it now.
Amazing.
How does it feel to learn that?
It's funny to think of how, I don't know, how much weight names have on people's outcomes. Because that's a lot of a name there.
We wanted to figure out how the Trakianskys became the Meyers. Our search would lead us to a remarkable individual, Seth's great-grandfather, who took the name Morris Meyers after immigrating to America. We aren't sure why Morris changed his name. He may have been trying to assimilate. He was certainly a very resourceful man. Records show that he came to Pittsburgh around 1870 and started out at the very bottom as a peddler.
He came to this city where, in common with other pioneers, he sold tin in the country districts, often carrying great loads of pots, pans, and other utensils. The first $4 he earned, he sent back to his mother.
Can you imagine making a living carrying pots and pans in the countryside around Pittsburgh?
I mean, no. I certainly don't hear it and think, I missed my calling.
We believe that Morris came to America when he was only 15 years old, arriving at what was known as the Castle Garden Immigration Center, a precursor to Ellis Island. From there, Morris traveled to Pittsburgh, a distance of over 300 miles. Think about this, he's 15. He'd have to find food, lodging, and train tickets, and according to your family, he spoke zero English.
I can't even.
It's mind-boggling.
And it's not, I mean, it would be hard enough to get to the Bronx from Manhattan.
Yeah, it's true.
Pittsburgh.
Yeah, with no money. What's it like to look at that and to think of him at the age of 15?
Well, you know, when I think about the things in my life that would frame as difficult, none of them are even close to any sort of level of difficulty that someone like Morris went through.
You know, talk about being forced to grow up overnight.
Yeah, that is amazing.
Morris did more than grow up fast. He thrived. He launched a dry good business and eventually bought a home in Pittsburgh, a home where Seth's relatives still live today.
That's fantastic. In a nice neighborhood, too.
Do you think that Morris's resourcefulness is something that's been passed down in your family?
I think that his resourcefulness was born of necessity. Mm-hmm. And even if he loved improv comedy, it doesn't seem like he was in a place where he could have taken that chance.
He could have been pretty funny with his horse and
I think,
cart.
I think if you're a peddler, if you got a joke or two, that probably helps make a sale. So we don't know, but I guess that's what I'm really taken with is, you realize, he didn't have the chance to choose what his passion was. Mm-hmm. He had to find something that worked, and the fact that he did it in a way that, bought a house that's still in the family is quite a legacy.
multimedia superstar Andy Cohen proudly told me that he comes from a long line of hard workers. But Andy had absolutely no idea where that line began. So we showed him, tracing his mother's roots back to his great-grandfather, a man named Louis Allen. Louis came to America from Russia and ultimately started a dry goods store. Over time, it would become a flourishing interstate company. We picked up his story in a newspaper article, published in the small town in Illinois where he first made his mark, by working as a peddler.
When Louis Allen came to this country as a poor immigrant in the 1890s, he was about 23 years old. Mr. Allen began his career as a peddler of household goods and wearing apparel. For the first 4 years, he walked from farmhouse to farmhouse throughout the area. However, after 4 years, he was able to buy a horse and wagon and started his business career in earnest.
What's it like to read that?
It's wild. It's really cool.
Peddling was an extraordinarily difficult job. Men like Louis worked in all weather conditions, traveling across America's frontier, carrying packs filled with pots and pans and anything else a farmer might buy.
Wow.
And that photo doesn't even capture everything. Those packs that you see,
Can't imagine how heavy they were.
over 100 pounds.
Oh my God.
And think about this, there were no motels back then.
Right.
So peddlers would walk or drive their carts through the countryside, hoping a farmer or his wife might take them in for the night.
Oh man.
And if they couldn't, they'd sleep outdoors, under the cart, around the cart,
Meanwhile, I wonder how he learned English. I mean, he came from Russia.
on the cart,
Right.
on the job.
I mean, it's incredible. I don't know that I could do the same. I mean, it just shows incredible strength and fortitude.
And you had no idea.
No. I mean, I don't even know if my parents knew about this.
Andy wondered why Louis had been willing to face such hardship in America. The answer, likely, is that life in his homeland was even harder. We believe that Louis was born in a small town outside the city of Białystok in modern-day Poland. At the time, the town was part of the Russian Empire, located in what was known as the Pale of Settlement, the region where, beginning in the late 1700s, Russia confined and severely restricted its Jewish population. Jews in the Pale were barred from owning farmland, denied access to higher education, and generally lived in poverty. Evidence suggests Andy's family lived in the region for centuries, working as tradespeople and menial laborers. And seeing this gave Andy a deeper sense of just how much his ancestors had endured.
It's so wild. I mean, I come from a long line of people who were trying to make a living, provide for their families, and make life better.
Yeah.
And you just kind of, my heart breaks for them a little bit for all that they went through, and all that they sacrificed, and how much they had to learn. I feel like a little bit of a lightweight, to tell you the truth. Like, I had it so easy, but they did it for me. I feel immense gratitude to them.
Talk show host Jimmy Kimmel is extremely proud of his Italian-American heritage. In fact, Jimmy launched a traditional Italian street festival, the Feast of San Gennaro, soon after moving from New York to Los Angeles. But for all his pride, Jimmy didn't know how his Italian ancestors first came to America. And that story is extraordinary. It begins with a passenger record for a ship that arrived in New York City in January of 1903. On board was Jimmy's great-grandfather.
Vincenzo Icano, 35 years old, traveling with $10.
That marks the moment the first Italian on this branch of your family tree set foot in the United States.
$10 to move your family to another country on a boat is such a tumultuous thing to do. It illustrates for me how different my life is from theirs. I just can't imagine anyone in our family being allowed to get on what looks like a pretty rickety boat and sail from a place where everyone speaks Italian to a place where small pockets of people speak Italian.
And it took so much courage.
Either courage or desperation, I don't know.
Or both.
Yeah.
Vincenzo's journey lasted 15 days on the open ocean, where still he was in steerage, where conditions were dismal. People were crowded together, sleeping on top of their luggage. Once in New York, he found work as a coal shoveler, a grueling and dangerous job. It was difficult to believe that this was better than his life back in Italy. But as we researched further, I began to understand why Jimmy's ancestor was willing to face this ordeal. Vincenzo came from the town of Casimicciola on the tiny island of Ischia. On the night of June 28, 1883, Ischia was devastated by an earthquake. Much of Casimicciola was destroyed. More than 1,700 people perished. 40% of the town died, and about 80% of the town's houses crumbled, including your ancestors' home. Imagine, this terrible thing, and you return home, and everything and everybody is gone.
And of course, we moved to LA, where it's like we're chasing the earthquakes.
Yeah, you got an earthquake chip. And life didn't get any easier for Vincenzo.
How can anything be worse than this?
Yeah.
What happened next? Did ravens take his eyeballs?
The answer to Jimmy's question would prove painful to contemplate. Vincenzo's father and 3 of his siblings were killed in the earthquake. And while Vincenzo would immigrate to America and ultimately prosper, the tragedy was likely never far from his mind. Indeed, by comparing the 1920 census for his household in New York with a list of people who perished in the earthquake, we saw that Vincenzo found a way to memorialize his lost family members.
He named them after his children, after them.
Giuseppe was Joseph, Lucia or Lucia was Lucy, Saverio was Sal, and Sophia was Sophie. Their names had been Americanized, but they matched the names of 3 of his dead siblings and his father.
I guess you start over.
Yeah, but you speak the names.
Yeah. It's funny, you get upset about people that you don't even know.
But they're in your bloodstream.
Yeah.
Discovering our ancestors can change our lives, helping us to understand more fully who we are, where we came from, and how we're all connected to a much larger world. To see more incredible family history stories, click here. And thank you for watching.